Convo with a King.
And we live. Good morning, everybody. Welcome back. It's the Talk About It Tuesday show. You know what it is. Convo with a King this morning. Conversation with a Queen this morning. You know what I'm talking about. I got the good sister family. My Cuddy. You know what I'm saying? We know as Reese. But Anointed Kat. Anointed Kat. What's happening?
What's up? What's good with you, my people? It's good to see you this morning. Grand Rising.
Grand Rising it is. Yes, it is. You know what I'm saying? Anointed Kat. Like I say, we here. This is the Talk About It Tuesday show. I thank you for coming in, you know what I'm saying, and giving us what you got today. We're going to get that vibe going, you know what I'm saying? I'm going to be back and forth because I'm checking the levels and making sure everybody on the radio station good, you know what I'm saying? We got a good sound going through because we recording for the YouTube on one side and we're going live on the radio station right now. So just want to say good morning to the good people. Go ahead and just introduce yourself. I would love to introduce you, but can't nobody introduce you like you can.
Nobody do you like you do you, right?
You already know it.
So I'm Kat by trade brand. My name is Sharice Milton. All of you that's home know me or have a familiarity of me. I've been gone about 20 years, but I'm home now. And so Anointed Kat is my brand and my name that I've practiced under, I've worked under, I've struggled under. You know what I'm saying? And so I'm bringing back home what I went out and got and learned, which was what we was all taught to do any kind of way.
Right.
And bringing that back home to the people to do what I can do to serve and to provide services that I know are needed in my community. I offer counseling services. I've actually branded myself recently with a bath salt label. So that's cool. And so right now, one of the things that I'm really focusing on is trying to make sure that I heal where I need to heal and make sure that my community and culture is healing where they need to heal. And so Anointed Kat is a consulting counseling service. We do a lot of community work and try and help people focus in on what it is that they say they want to do in order to uplift themselves and believe that they can make a better presence in their communities.
That's what's up. That's dope. That's dope. And like you were saying, that's most definitely needed right now. You know what I'm saying? Even what you were saying, you know, healing yourself, because it starts with us, you know what I'm saying? And that's dope that once a person can heal themselves, then you be able to give out, to be able to help. You know what I'm saying?
And why it's purposeful.
Right. That's real. That's real. Anointed Kat, let me start off. Let me ask you this, first of all. Where did Anointed Kat come from? That's a fire name. That's fire.
Well, my name, it actually started when I was following in the church set real hard and real heavy. I did a lot of poetry, gospel poetry and things like that. And so one of the things that I kept running up across was I felt like, you know what I'm saying? I was blessing the mic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
The message got across, the people got the thought and the poetry I was spitting. And so the anointed means a Messiah. And so I took that ownership of the goddess that I am. And then I'm just cool like that. My nickname has always been Reese Kat.
Yeah.
So they always call me Kat, just certain people do, you know.
Right.
So it's always been mine and it'll always be mine. So, you know, it just kind of fit with me and my flavor, my vibe, and I follow frequency. So it's been with me for about 18 years now.
That's what's up. That's what's up. They're fire in the pit. You know what I'm saying? That's fire in the pit. So let's jump into this because like you say, you do some personal and business development services, you know what I'm saying? Traditional holistic remedies and stuff. Let's break down right quick for the people that's listening because everybody don't know, you know, a lot of what these words actually mean. We hear them, but can you elaborate and break down on the word holistic for the people?
Definitely. I had on my website a while ago this analogy that this brother gave that was just totally, you know, it was on point. I couldn't say it better. And basically what he was saying was that you encompass the entire thing. You can't take a part of it and separate it and make it have its own definition. You encompass it all. And when you encompass it all, you give it definition. And once you define something, you can actually figure out either how you make it work or why it works the way that it works. And so holism is basically focusing in on the entire person. It's not just dealing with your physical health. It's not just dealing with your mental health. It's not just dealing with your financial resource needs.
Right.
Dealing with it all as a whole. And as a community, one of the things that I think we have struggled with or suffer from are social disparities. And we don't acknowledge those things that actually make us feel the way that we feel, the things that put us in certain situations to where, because you from the hood or you from this side of town, economics is not the same as it is on the north side of town.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so you have to encompass the whole person and see why that person may have acted out like that, or why you may be feeling a certain way, you know what I'm saying, that other people may not get. And so holism basically just encompasses the entire being. It gives your spiritual as well as your physical, as well as your mental. So it's just focusing in on you as an entirety. And that's why one of my statements or thought processes is always focus. Because if we ain't focused, we can't get nowhere. I mean, most of the time it's as simple as getting something to eat early in the morning so that you can focus. You know what I'm saying? That's the whole part of you. If you don't meet all of you on your whole spectrum and know that in the morning when I wake up, I'm going to need a good breakfast and a cup of coffee in order to set my vibe, my mood right.
Yeah.
You never accomplish the whole part of you that gets you to a part where you can function in a good way for yourself, productive.
Right. That's what's up. That's dope. Getting started. So, excuse me. We hear everything is meant, you know what I'm saying? And, but we hear because I posted about, I made a mental health post about a month ago. And you saw it and you chopped up on it. And when you did that clicked on me. I was like, bam, I gotta have her on. But this, you coming on happened before because, earlier in 2021, you took a trip, you know what I'm saying? And I was saying then, I was like, I gotta have Reese on there because I want to know.
I told you I was going.
Yeah, you said it, and you did it. And so that made me like, I wanna talk to her. I want to see how that felt. You know what I'm saying? I want to see what did that do for you spiritually and mentally being over there? Just give us a little bit on your experience and tell the people where you went and whoop, because you kicked it over there for a while.
For those that don't know, I took my first trip to Africa. You know, we all sit and talk about how the continent, the people, Black, Africa this, Africa that. You know, I'm just one of those people that's always been be authentic. You know what I'm saying? Just really know what you're talking about. Don't just run your mouth when you don't know what you're talking about. So I took a trip to Africa. I went to Senegal, Africa.
Senegal.
Almadi, to be a little bit more specific. I met some great people. I've actually even touched base with the Senegalese family right here in Temple since I'm back. Yeah, so it's just like I went there. They're good people. I got the opportunity to work with some investors on a wellness center and putting together some packages and some treatment plans for retreats. And so, I mean, that was exciting. I mean, I love the fact that the culture there, and I think it came right at a time that I really needed it because it was more of a spiritual thing for me.
Right.
It's more of am I in a place where I can really and truly appreciate who I am internally as well as externally? Right. You know what I'm saying? It's nice to put on for your city, but can you really and truly bleed that blood? You know what I'm saying? Right. And so when I got to Africa, I was really in a place where I needed some humility. You know what I'm saying? I needed some humbling. You know what I'm saying? I got there and I realized every day there is not like every day here.
Okay.
You know,
right.
We got credit, we got government assisted, we got whatever. You know, y'all want to talk about a hustle, baby, every day is a hustle. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It ain't no, oh, tomorrow will be better, I'll just go down here. No, every day you waking up and trying to figure out how to survive. And it put me in a mindset of us and how we are here, most of us in the hoods and the communities, but the love was there. You know what I'm saying? You didn't go home. If you was on in Africa or on the street. I mean, that crap that they selling us about starving children, yeah, maybe in some tribal areas, maybe pushed off, but the developed and advanced area of Africa right now is not like that. You know what I'm saying? People really and truly do watch out for each other. They really care how you doing. You know, people would stop and actually talk and actually, if you wasn't looking right in your face, they wanted to know what's wrong and were genuine about it.
Right.
And that I needed that in my life at that point. And so I did Africa. I branded. I actually, that's where I'm branded from. The salts that I'm doing come from Lake Rose. It's a Dead Sea salt lake off of the side of Senegal. The beautiful people there. I actually carried a bucket on my head for about 5 feet and down with freight.
That's what's up. You got 5 out of it though. That's what's up. That's what's up.
I love that. And the thought process and the premise behind actually being able to be authentic and know that the trip to Africa has something to do with reaching soul parts. I found out my paternal lineage and where my people are. I'm not from Senegal, but in doing that, it allowed me to actually explain and explore spirituality from religion. You know what I'm saying? Because I was dumped into a culture, and I wasn't dumped. I placed myself there, but I was in a culture that I had to start from ground zero. They didn't know me, and I didn't know them. You know what I mean? And I didn't know the language. You know, because the area that I was in was predominantly Muslim, and so it was really just about trying to feel the people. You know what I'm saying? So for me, it was a study, go in, see, you know, from a human to human level. And that's what anthropology is all about, and counseling and all of that, just human to human.
True.
You know, how do you actually relate to each other? And being in that area and them actually being so open and loving and genuine and giving, it reminds me of us. You know, it's a Black thing. It is a Black thing. We do have a sense of compassion that I don't think is matched by any other race.
Can't be surprised. You're right.
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think white people, Hispanic people, any other Asian culture, they have their own sense of foundational beliefs that allow them to love in the way that they love. But I think we as a culture, one of the things that we do is we provide hope and give people hope, even in the spite of the fact that we don't have it in some instances. You know, and that compassion that we give and bring to the table actually makes a difference. And I dare say it's one of the reasons that our spirituality is so much under attack right now as a culture. And as because when we think of how ritualistically and traditionally done things, we haven't always came out with the best spiritual responses or product. You know, you want to talk about Jesus and how Jesus is the Messiah and he is the ultimate one to follow. Well, that book that you're supposed to be reading, most that are religious don't read it. Right. Be reading doesn't say that he is the God to worship. You're still worshiping God. Even he himself pointed to God. You know what I mean? He told them don't worship him. You know what I mean? So when you think of the fact that we're not even supposed to be worshiping another man, just an example. He was just a sample of what you are or could be. You know, you're supposed to be worshiping God, and you're supposed to be giving reverence to a true ultimate being. And that ultimate being is the one that gives us that feeling, that spiritual being that gives us the consciousness to say, hey, what is my next move? What's my response in this situation? And I think we as a culture, Black people, we have something that is just really and truly radiated there in that spirituality that religion couldn't touch. And I think that's where we are as a culture right now, is we've gotten to a place where religion can't touch what faith is really built on. It can't touch the spirit. It can give you all these doctrines. It can give you a play-by-play of how to move. But at the end, your spirit is still going to check you.
Yeah, that's for sure. That's for sure. And I'm glad you broke that down and you touched on some things we're going to get to down this trip we're on right now. That's fire, because my next question was, tell us about how hold on, let me break it down. Where I'm going, because you said at this time, you're speaking about even at this time and where we at spiritually at this time. So talk to me about spirituality and being in the present, being in the moment with your spirituality and that connection and how that coincide.
I mean, I think a lot of times we try and explain it in a general setting, and we really can't.
Right.
It's not something that can be generalized. Each and every one of us have our own individuality that breaks to a point that we have to have come to the Lord, if I can, if I will. Easy way of putting it. But when we, and I speak from a place, let me just premise it by saying this. I went to Bible school. You know what I'm saying? I went and got a degree. I didn't just sit up here and try and fathom for myself who I think God is. I did a whole study on Christology. I read that book back and front.
Okay.
You know, but the book does not give you the experience. You can read something that makes you identify with something in that book, or teaches you a principle that allows you to identify in that book, but it's not going to give you the experience that your conscience gives you. That real time in the moment, having to make a decision, that present moment. But you read that book and you read other books in order to have the knowledge, right? To make the decision, so that you have wisdom, right? That's why you get the knowledge, to get the understanding. And then once you got the understanding, the situation arises, boom, you need wisdom. Yeah. Well, that wisdom that kicks in and how you use it is formed off of your spirituality. Exactly. Because of your experiences, because of the things that you have had to endure and go through, that spirit kicks in and gives you a jolting feeling to tell you, move this way, don't do that. You know what I'm saying? If that makes any sense right there. Oh yeah. Spirituality is on a different level than your religion. I'm religiously gonna get up and brush my teeth. Right. My breath to stink. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. But am I gonna religiously get up and search my heart and search my mind to see exactly what my desires are and how I'm gonna go get them? Or better yet, if they affecting somebody else. You know what I'm saying? And so our behavior plays a huge part in how we respond to people, or what the experience is that we give. When I was in school, one of the things that they used to teach us is that, how you was raised and how you actually grew up and had to struggle through certain things is how you develop a mindset of what you're going to do in certain situations. Yes, ma'am. You can play with a game for a little while, you know what I'm saying, and do something for a little while, but repetition of whatever you're doing, you're going to act that way and put in that situation in. Yeah, right. So if, in fact, you give somebody the opportunity to sit down and contemplate what direction they want to go in for their life. If you give somebody the opportunity to say, I thought about this, that person really and truly had to come to themselves. They had to sit down and think, focus, and that's my word. I love that word. Right. It's everything. They had to focus in on what activity they wanted to display. And when they focused in on that activity, then they were able to see their heart. They could see their mind. They could set their goals. You know what I'm saying? And the spirituality should prompt us to be able to make decisions that are beneficial, productive, and lucrative in reference to the abundance that we already are as kings and queens. That's just my, and just that synapses. As a spiritual being, we cannot compare rituals and what Mama and them did to what we are right now. It's not going to take us nowhere. Right. Come on now. Come on. Go on. Keep breaking it down and talk to us. When we sit down and we think about how spirituality is a personal thing, it's an individual thing. Yes. I can't account for my mama's sin, and my mama can't account for my sins. I still did or do what I do. You know what I'm saying? That's an individual thing. Yes, when we see religious sects and try and define ourselves by these bodies and these symbols, what we end up doing is identifying with other people's spirituality. That's not to say you can't be on one accord with a group of people. That's not to say that everybody can't be on the same vibe.
Right.
But in Christianity sex, they say relationship with an ultimate divine being, you have an understanding of what it is that your conscience is being pricked and checked to do on a moment-to-moment basis.
Mm-hmm.
You can't keep bringing up what you had in the past and thinking that at the present moment you're just going to be able to evolve, because your spirit is dealing with you as well as everything around you in the present.
Yeah.
At the moment in real time.
That's right.
And so you can't. And I keep saying the word can't. I'm trying to take that word out of my vocabulary because I'm starting to learn that anything is possible.
Yeah.
We have trouble.
Yeah.
That sometimes this walk, we're going to have to walk it alone.
Yeah.
We're going to have to actually get clarity on who we are as individuals and what it is our mindset is that's preventing us from having the desires and things that we want, in order to be real and authentic with our spirits, so that we can get downloads from the Supreme, so that we can get clarity and discernment, as they say in Christian sex.
Right.
You know, I walk that walk. I talk the talk. I preach sermons, booby.
Come on now.
Yeah. And I walked it, and I actually had the realization that these people don't go home with me.
Right.
And they didn't go home with me when I was handing out communion to the folks.
Yeah.
I started thinking about the things that I knew that I was shortcoming, and really checking my spirit, right? You know, I don't deny my foundation and say that my Christian foundation doesn't play a part in who I am, because it does.
Yeah, because it got you to where you was at. Come on.
It's discipline, right? To get and stay focused in reference to helping and serving. But at the same token, it's just like when you at a spiritual level to where you realize that going through rituals and tradition in reference to how mama and them did it don't work for you. You know what I'm saying? And that your relationship with God, if you so dare, I now have come to claim it as universe, just because of the fact that, you know what I'm saying? I'm seeing osmosis. I'm all over
everything. Yeah. And like I say, everything is everything.
I'm seeing the whole picture, the whole you know what I'm saying? And I'm like, anyway, I
feel everything is the all, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and so my spirit started to actually function on its own, basically. You know what I'm saying? It started to tell me this wasn't right, that ain't right. Yeah. And then I'm in these sects and I'm checking myself. I had to come to the realization that I wasn't really and truly believing what it was I was saying I was doing.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I got to that, and we'll go back to Africa. I got to Africa, man. And when I got to Africa, I was so emotional when I took the trip to the little slavery island, Agori Island.
Right.
And I was so emotional, man. I cried for like 10 minutes before I could even get off the ferry to walk on the land and even see, you know. And when I was thinking about it, I was like, if I had gotten here 5 years prior, and this is talking about being present. Right. If I had gotten here 5 years prior, I would have taken a holier than thou gospel religious Christian approach to being on the land.
Come on.
But it was 5 years after I had experienced all of that I had experienced. I had studied the Bible and everything, and I had learned about what the white man had done to the black man in reference to chartering them off. When I got there, my spirituality kicked in. And I didn't just see the mannerism of the color of the people that did it. I saw the hate. Saw the discourse for a whole group of people.
Yeah.
Black people wasn't first people to be slaves.
Right.
British people had slaves and they was white.
Exactly.
So the first people to be slaves, but at the same token, we were treated really, really worse than a lot of folks.
Tough. Yeah.
You know? And so it's that trying to break of a person's spirit that got me when I got to the land this time. You know what I'm saying? I got to the And I was, oh, this wasn't supposed to happen. The door and no return. I wasn't supposed to come back, but here I am standing. And so then when I start thinking about the spirituality and as us as individuals and how sometimes we get broken just on daily, day-to-day things.
Yeah.
Where do we replenish? How do we replenish? How do we face those traumas and experiences and things that, you know what I'm saying? I healed in that moment. You know what I'm saying? I got a healing in that moment. For me, it worked.
That's major.
I ain't stepping over and getting it.
That's major.
So
That's major.
when we think about how our spirituality transfers us or allows us to transfer on a daily basis and make decisions, come to conclusions, our individuality, that holism of us as an entity, a person, that vibe.
Yeah. Yeah. I already know it. I feel you. And you know, that's all. That's major because as I was doing my thing last night, one of my major downloads was connecting that the spirituality, spirit, and the mental with us. You know what I'm saying? That's hand in hand. You know what I'm saying? So that's dope how you just broke all that down to us. And, me sitting here listening to you and steadily seeing that spiritual and mental connection. And that's part of why we are here this morning, like I was saying earlier, because when you're dealing with the spiritual and you're dealing with the mental, now we at mental health. You know what I'm saying? And individually, breaking it down individually, we see why so many people go through so many things constantly. And that's due to a poor spirit connection mentally. Like you said, it go back to how even we was brought up, environments and all that. So with the mental health thing, what do you think we need to be doing individually? Because once we get it down individually, that's going to be able to help us connect community-wide. So what you think, like in these times, in this present time, where do a lot of people need to be at spiritually?
I think it depends on the individual. I mean, you gotta, when you put it like that and you're comparing a person to assisting the community and building.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? How do we need to be individually, spiritually, in order to move towards building a community? Is that fair to say that's the process of the thought?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so individually, you have to be able to accept accountability. That's all of us.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I'm no expert. I'm not somebody gonna sit here and say I got it all. That's not how it's going.
Right, there you go. It's real.
Only thing I'm saying is there is a service that is gifted to those of us that are counselors, that are out here, that are actually serving people.
Yeah.
In
right.
social settings. You know what I'm saying? Some social workers are really good. You know what I'm saying? You don't want somebody you have to be accounted for every day, whatever. But accountability is huge.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Somewhere along the lines, we have to show some accountability for our thought processes.
Mm-hmm.
That works with the mental health. You know,
Mm-hmm.
sometimes we are in some of the situations we're in because we put ourselves there, and sometimes we just need to be accountable for that.
Exactly.
Sometimes we're in situations that we did not have any control over. And all we can do is be present and be accountable for ourselves in that moment.
In that moment, right.
I think accountability is the first thing. And then once you can be accountable, then you can focus in on who it is that you as an individual entity have in your heart and your mindset to be. Mm-hmm. Then work on actually portraying that, or not portraying, because you don't want to play to be nothing. You know what I'm saying? On making that a reality. And that's what manifestation is all about. That's what meditating is all about. Mm-hmm. That's what actually setting down and making goals and focusing in on what it is that you say you want to do is all about. And that's dealing with your, I don't know how deep the audience setting goes, but there's a thing that's been circling probably for about the past 5 years called shadows. and shadow and dealing with shadows. And it's basically talking about dealing with your own mindset.
Dealing with you, yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's talking about dealing with your mind and how your mind has things that play back in your head all the time. They like shadows for you.
Come on.
That's real talk. They keep you at a point where you can't focus and move forward because you're too busy looking back. You're too busy looking at the instance of the shadow that you think is going to be in the future, and it's not even that.
Right.
You know, the shadow is in the back. And so sometimes we have to deal with our own individual shadows.
Yeah.
Jungian, Carl Jung philosophy, I am. But we have to deal with our shadows and actually place steps or plans in place so that we can make steps forward. And being present means you got to be real and you have to be accountable. And authenticity, dealing with your accountability, I think makes your spirit. It makes you check your conscience. It makes your conscience check you.
Yeah.
You know? And so once we can get to a place where we're accountable, we're authentic, you know what I'm saying? We ain't trying to lie, cheat, steal.
Right.
We're right there. But you gonna lie and cheat and steal yourself?
Exactly, man. Come on. Come on.
So
That's
just
real.
be authentic with yourself, not necessarily anybody else, but yourself for that spiritual component. Gives you that launching pad, if you will. And that's something else I do, the capacity building. You know what I'm saying? It's individual as well as community capacity building. I was a community health worker for like 9 years in South Carolina, boo-boo.
Okay.
Hood in South Carolina.
Yeah, deep in it. Yeah.
And all I'm doing is sitting up here talking to these people about social disparities, why they blood sugars ain't going up, keep going up, why they high blood pressure is bad, why they don't have groceries. You know what I'm saying? I'm just in the hood. And so every day I'm out somewhere checking on my people.
Already.
Every day.
Yeah. And
so as I'm looking at my people, I'm just saying, you know, what is it? There's a lot of us are depressed.
Man.
A lot of us are depressed. A lot of us really and truly don't feel like there's anything to hope for.
Man.
And depressed.
That's real. You know, I call it little big walls, you know what I'm saying? Because we try to make it little, try to hide it, but they really big. And like we were saying a minute ago, that's in that mental, and that mental connected to that spiritual. And that's why we be so down, because like you say, you're hopeless, man. And it's just tearing you up on the inside, but you're just trying to hide it and fight it. And that's when we start seeing them, that mental, and the behavioral.
The behavior.
So come on. So talk to me a little bit about that connection, you know, going from the mental to the behavioral, because I know you deal with all that. And like you said, you was in South Carolina, way across country. You from here, you know what I'm saying? We know what this like, but you went and seen it on the other side of.
It's the behavior. It's what we choose, man. Mm-hmm. You know, we can sit up here all day and blame, oh, I'm depressed. Oh, I'm this, I'm that. And I'm not saying that those are not illnesses and they are not serious, because they are. Yeah. And that's the point I'm trying to make.
Right.
Speaking from a you know, oh, it ain't nothing situation. I'm speaking from a serious place. You know, we as a community, as a culture, have put so many stigmas on mental health. So we don't want to acknowledge when somebody is really sick mentally.
Right.
Mentally, they're not functioning. Mentally, they're not coping. Mentally, they're not able to, for lack of better terms, deal with social norms and get into social norms. You know what I'm saying? They can't function in society.
Real talk.
You know, we don't want to deal with those things. And we've got, as a culture, statistics show as a culture, we are some of the most degrading people when it comes to mental health. We talk bad on ourselves and other people when it comes to mental health. Man. And we have been the most abused.
Yeah.
The most tormented mentally.
They've been through it.
Why deny yourself? Some of the reasons you behave the way you act is because your mental health is triggered.
Man, real talk.
Your mental health needs a little bit of attention.
Yeah.
I need a little bit of attention with my mental health. I have to have self-care days. If I don't take self-care days after all the ripping and running and tracing that I do, if I don't take them, I break too.
Man, that's real, cuz. And look, this is why this is how stuff be so lined up, because so I jotted this down, in these times of the fast-paced living and all the pressures present time, we seeing more and more of this out of line behavior. I'm gonna just say out of line behavior. You know what I'm saying? The mental breakdowns, like people going through it right now. And like you're saying, what happened, what worked in the 60s, 70s, that ain't working right now, because this is a whole nother time. And when you touched on,
man, I'm sorry, but it's like social media has abused us.
Come on.
Been abused systematically, and in these instances, I'm not just talking about Black people. I'm talking about as an American culture.
Exactly.
Isolated due to COVID for the past 2 years. So a lot of people walking around here. A lot of us, we just one step away from something, even if it's just a little anxiety attack.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? I'm not saying an anxiety attack is little, but I'm just saying, even if it's as minute as just a fidget moment, shake your back, your leg moment, all of us step away from it most of the time. There are so many, and I heard a doctor say this, Dr. Wood, on this African wellness project I was listening to, and he said your environment plays a huge part in reference to what you do or don't do, and we know this. I mean, us in the hood, we've known this for centuries.
Right. Really.
We've known this for a while. Your environment plays a huge part in reference to how you behave and what you do. And so when we think about where we came from and what the 60s had compared to what we have now, on every corner we got a liquor store.
Yeah, come on.
They offering your coping mechanism to be alcohol.
Giving it to you.
Your coping mechanism to be fast food, something that's gonna kill you long term in reference to your health.
On the inside, yeah.
Offering you chemical drugs at these pharmacies and at your local Walmart. You know, you can sleep. Hey, go get a sleep aid. You can't.
Yeah.
So your sinuses bothering, go get an antihistamine. You know what I'm saying? They offering you all of this stuff.
Ooh, that's cold.
So being able to cope and be normal in society.
Yeah, and taking us away from that spirituality, that individual spirituality, because now don't go inside. Go get this. Go to CVS and get this here. Go to that liquor store and get you a couple of these. And smoke this, pop this. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? It's like, man.
Everybody needs a coping mechanism. That's why I even exist or have a profession. You know what I'm saying? Everybody needs a coping mechanism. That's one of the goals or designs for counselors and therapists, is to help people find coping mechanisms, to help you find a focus, a plan, a goal, in order to achieve what it is that you say you want to achieve. That's why I'm here. Yeah. Behavioral health plays a huge part in my field because of the fact that people behave one way, but they want to change and go a different direction. They want to behave in a different direction. I don't go find people. That's not my job.
Already. Yeah, you ain't doing no recruiting.
Yeah, I don't go recruit people. People seek help. You know what I'm saying? If you don't want help, there's nothing for us to do. But right now in this climate, like you say, all of us are coming to the realization that we need a little bit more of something.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Church didn't get it. I've been from church for so long.
Yeah.
So long. And when you go back in the circles, it's not the same.
Right.
Your behavior has changed. Your person has changed. Your behavior is different.
Yeah.
Isolated and you've dealt with some things. I've dealt with some things. You know what I'm saying? Point to where we have to actually be real enough with ourselves to say, hey, I might need to talk this out. I might need to work on writing out some plans, journaling or something. You know what I'm saying? To get me and my behavior in a way that's going to be conducive or productive to what it is I want to do. And so, that's why I even have a job, man, because of behavioral health, because people want change. But it's, you gotta want change. It's not something that you can just one day decide, oh, okay, I'm going to have it. We walk you through models, we walk you through steps, we walk you through, okay, you're thinking about it right now, right? All right, so how do you go about putting that into action? So let's contemplate that now. You thought about it, now let's contemplate it. And then we put into action a plan and an action. You know what I'm saying? So there are different ways of changing behavior if a person wants to change, but they have to want to change.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And that's what we as a culture have had a hard time being able to say because of mental health, because of social disparities, because of the things that we were taught and we think are true. Some things aren't even true. You know what I'm saying? I love my mama to death. Don't get me wrong. I love my grandfather, my grandmother. Like I said, I represent and respect my roots and my foundation.
Right, but
because some of that stuff wasn't true.
Man, look, a lot. It's tough that we finding it out too.
Yeah, and it don't apply to today.
No,
and they make it work for us.
No, yeah, and even we want to talk about the societal norms that also putting these pressures. My one of my questions was which statistic stands out the most when dealing with the mental and behavioral with illnesses, if we call them illnesses, whatever you want to call it, dealing with our communities? Which one stand out to you the most when when you working and you looking and you say, well man, this show is a whole bunch of this right here. Which statistic stands out to you?
I have to say, if I'm looking at it from a mental health perspective, I'd have to say anxiety.
Anxiety,
and depression, and they can run hand in hand. If I'm looking at it from a mental health perspective, but if I'm looking at it from a behavioral health perspective and our community, I would have to say racial-based trauma.
Yeah.
Have to say the experiences that we've encountered and been through because of the systemic racism.
Yeah.
We have to say that's a huge one. Did you know, and this is funny that you asked that way, did you know that racial-based trauma is only considered an injury? It's not a mental diagnosis.
Wow.
They don't believe yet that Black people have been traumatized enough for it to be classified as a mental illness with us.
Wow. That's crazy. That's a systematic trick. Wow.
Exactly. And that's why I do what I do, boo.
Already.
That's why I do what I do, because it's a mental thing. Man. I mean, we function without it. That's why I'm so passionate. And I might have been all over the place right today, but it's just like I'm so passionate about the fact that our people have been affected. Yeah. And if we don't take accountability for the fact that we have been affected, we will be not necessarily erased as a Black people, but our culture and the things that we consider to be normal for our socializing with each other will be erased.
Yeah.
Will be eliminated in that aspect. Yeah. I mean, you think about how currently right now, cultural biases against us, stereotypes against us, and then everything else just pretty much say we sing, we dance, we play ball, you know what I'm saying, we cook good, all those stereotype typical things, you know what I'm saying? But they had to come into our culture and learn us.
Yeah. We
taught them.
Exactly. gave them everything to get us. Yeah, for real.
And so if you somewhere stop and say, hey, we have been affected by the racial trauma that's in your systems, all your systems, from your government systems to your education systems to your whatever. We have
health system, all the things, man.
Some especially, you know what I'm saying? Health, everything.
Ooh,
you don't acknowledge that and then sit and say, this is a norm for us. A lot of people like to say, yeah, you want a Black agenda. You're right. I do.
Yeah, I need that.
Okay, I need it. We're not paying attention to the fact that if we don't stop and just look at ourselves as being affected and knowing that those systems have played an issue, it won't make a difference. You know, we don't fit in some instances.
Right.
We
Yeah.
just don't. And spirituality has been bringing that more and more to the forefront lately for us.
Man, like never before. Like never before, cuz.
And now it's to the point where people are looking at us and our belief systems to see how to believe, how to know that it's authentic, that you see God, that God is in you.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? When we was bad at first, they was ready to just shoot us and put us out the churches.
You know what I mean?
Church
For real. Like, hold up. Let me, you got to feel this. Yeah. You got to feel this. Yeah. That's deep.
It's just, it's really and truly, I would have to say racial trauma is something that we really and truly statistically are affected by, which causes a lot of our behavioral issues. But from a mental health perspective, I'd have to say that anxiety and depression are attacking our community at higher rates than anybody, with the exception of Hispanics. Hispanics do have a higher rate of anxiety and depression than Black people. But when you think about that and start to really hone in on it, it starts to prove that it's not necessarily anxiety and depression are not necessarily a race thing,
right?
It's an environment thing.
It's the environment.
We started with earlier, you know, your environment plays a huge part in reference to your mental health and how you perceive and take on things.
Most definitely, man. That's powerful. Most definitely. And like we were saying with the societal norms, but let me say this first: anxiety, depression. That's a roller coaster itself, high and low. It's already doing something to you, off balance. You know what I'm saying? And these societal norms that most of us are living by or trying to live up to, these are not our societal norms. Systematic. Bits and pieces, like you're saying. We're not saying we're going to be over with, but it's the deletion process, deleting of us, each little big piece, each little piece here, there, and it's tearing us apart. Individually, for a lot of us, which the equation equals out to the community. So that's why we're seeing what we're seeing now. But the good thing about where we at now in this present time, like you were just saying, is for some reason, the universe, everything is bringing these things out of us for us to see. A lot of us are becoming stronger through this. Because we're seeing, wait a minute, that wasn't right. This not right. That's not my norm. You know what I'm saying? That don't work for me. So let me do something else. Let me get deeper into me. You know what I'm saying? And that's just a blessing that we hear right now like that.
Yeah, and I think that's where a lot of us have, or you'll see a lot of people starting to adopt Afrocentric culturalism. You'll see a lot of people starting to fall away from Christianity and you know, I'm no longer Baptist, now I'm just spiritual. You know what I'm saying? You start to see all of those things because we're at a place where a lot of people not just searching for themselves, you know what I'm saying? Because you know, self-care and all that is all the rave right now. But they're not searching for themselves, but they're actually trying to get definition. Because those things that we thought were right and now we realize are wrong, we have an opportunity to change and make a decision. You know, and that's the whole kit and caboodle, what I was trying to say earlier. You know, when you add up the fact that you are a spiritual being, that your conscience is going to come and check you.
Yeah.
You add up the fact that you have an accountability in reference to how you behave. When you add up the fact that, you know what I'm saying, you have goals and aspirations for yourself and you see yourself as a certain individual, at least we hope you do. You know what I'm saying? You got to see yourself as something. You know what I'm saying? If you're not seeing yourself as something, then there in it lies itself as a reason. Hey, call me Anointed Kat.
Already. And that's got your link up there. Got that link up there. I know y'all can't see it on radio station, but we got the link, and it's www.anointedkat.com. Hit her. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
see yourself as something. Once you do, and all of those things are reality for you, then you can walk into more of a premise in reference to how you function in society. Because right now we're not, like you said, we function in according to what mama and them did, and mama and them didn't do right. We now know.
Come on.
We have come to a different era where social media and the exposure of the human body and mindset is wide open now.
It's wide open.
And we as a generation have the opportunity to make some decisions. And I think, like I said before, that accountability plays a huge part with us. You know, we like to run around and talk about being prideful and how we got it all together. But at the same token, you know, some of this now comes to the place of what are you doing for the whole?
Yeah.
You know, you as an individual have these accolades, these accomplishments, but what are you doing for the whole? What is that into the community, and how is that making it thrive? What are the social norms you now want to see? And I think it's our turn. It's our turn as a generation to make that decision. What are the social norms we want to set moving forward? You know, our parents did it before us, and that's why we are now. They decided, baby boomers and all of that. You know what I'm saying? These are social norms. These are things we want to buy. These are the things. What are you consuming? You know what I'm saying? What are you putting your money into and telling the government this is something we want?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
That's huge. Yeah.
That accountability plays a huge part in reference to how we move and what we can get as a community if we decide that, you know, we want it. But like I said, that's a decision.
It's real. It's real. Tell me, focus big. You say focus, and that is major. Focus is real major. Talk about this a little bit. NLP, what is NLP, and developing focus?
Neuro-linguistic programming. Okay. Neuro-linguistic programming, and a lot of people like to look at it and think I'm crazy, and it's okay. I'm good.
Yeah, already.
But you know, a lot of it before they used to talk about like hypnosis and stuff like that. But one thing we got away from and we didn't understand that neuro is actually dealing with the mindset and how the mind functions. And so how do you articulate that? How do you communicate that? That's the linguistic part.
Already.
And so our senses and what we do, our emotions in certain instances, our hesitancy to do something, a smell, a hearing, those type of things, those are the neuro mind communicating what we need to do. And so one of the things that I work with NLP is helping people to identify the things that their senses have already picked up on.
Mm-hmm. Come on.
You know what I'm saying?
Hold on, cut it. Hold on. Run that little bit right there. Run that back so they can hear that again.
That's what I do, boo. I just help people focus in on what their senses have already picked up on.
Bam.
What is it that you have already heard, you've already seen, you've already smelt, you've already done, you've already tasted, that either does or does not agree with you? And how do you make that move? How do you make that stop? How do you make that function properly? You know what I'm saying? And that's what neuro-linguistic programming does. It helps you to develop all those type of skills to be productive or have what it is that you say you want to have. It's setting goals. That's basically what it is. Most of the time, if we had somebody to be accountable to, when we set a goal, we could achieve and move so much further, do so much more. But because we're so scared that if we tell such and such, they're going to tell the world, or we don't have a true support system that's really reliable, you know what I'm saying? We don't move. We stay paralyzed.
Yeah.
We fake hustlers. We pseudo hustlers. We there, but we ain't made it there yet. But I mean, manifestation is real. I ain't trying to knock it. I'm just saying. The action into it. You got to move.
Real talk. Let's talk about real quick. Talk about this here. Faith versus religion and the presuppositions that come along with all that.
Faith versus religion. So for me, like I said at the beginning, when it comes to an individual, you can ritualistically brush your teeth. Yeah. You can ritualistically, you know what I'm saying, do something. And traditionally, you can do something. And I think that's where religion has played a huge part for us as a community, Black people. You know, we've actually had religion to lean on just to have an outing. just to be amongst other people and not be working. You know what I'm saying? So culturally, we adopted religion as something that we felt would be a sounding board for us. And it did great. I'm not trying to say it didn't. But the true religion that is our culture, or is for our culture, is not what we have been taught. It has been whitewashed, colonized, depreciated in reference to the value of faith.
Come on.
And it's something that you can out of a book.
Mm-mm.
It's not something that you can just teach someone.
Mm-mm.
It's something that you have to live. It is the faith is the experience. Faith is what it takes in order for us to be able to say, this is me as an individual and as a person.
Come on.
I'm saying that faith gives you your integrity and your character.
Come on. Your
faith is your spirit.
Come on.
Your spirit.
Knowing.
But that's what you're going to be true to. That's what you're really going to do, or you're not. What's going to stop you from doing something. Your faith to you, your faith to the God that you say represents, or you believe you represent.
Yeah.
That created you. You know what I'm saying? And everybody's is no longer, just the God of the Bible.
Right.
Because ancestral teaching from Africa itself teaches us that that Bible was made up off of Greek myth and philosophy that wasn't even really.
Really. God say it. God say it. That's real.
So it just depends on what I don't want to knock anybody for their beliefs, is basically how I guess I should say it, because, religion is really and truly the practice.
Yeah.
Whatever you're doing. You want to be a religious, spiritual person. Spirituality, that's me. I'm a religious, spiritual person. I realized that because I went to school thinking I was going to do Christianity and be a Bible thumper, and then got in there and realized I was dogmatic on the cool, so I had to come up out of that, and then realized that I was spiritual. I still have a relationship with the ultimate being, and that's the God that really and truly I can worship. And when I worship him, guess what? I can put plans in motion and manifest them things.
Yeah.
I can sit down and actually say, hey, God, this is what I desire, and meditate on them things. And they come to fruition because my spirituality has tapped in the fact of being religiously spiritual. So religion and spirituality, they do run hand in hand, and we haven't confused the two as much as we like to think. It's the practice of it.
Right.
It's an understanding that spirituality is a personal thing that you acknowledge and move accordingly. So once you realize who you are spiritually, you move according to that spirit. Religion is just the motion, the process of getting to that. And so what are you religious about is more of the question. Are you religious about Christianity because that's what Mama said? Are you religious about Christianity because you studied Christ and now you believe that you too can walk on water? You know what I'm saying? It just depends.
Yeah, come on. So at the it's real. So at the base of that, I mean cut you off, but at the base of that that's that individuality. That's that basis. And then finding out individually, I am. Which means I can do.
Yeah.
And this to talk about it Tuesday show. So like we say, we ain't knocking nobody by, we ain't knocking y'all about Sundays or Wednesday night Bible study. We ain't knocking nobody about none of that, because all of that is encompassed once you figure it out. You know what I'm saying? And once you get on the other side of the gate, you'll see that you needed all these stepping stones to become greater, or let me say, to get a greater sense of spirituality, a greater sense of who you are, a greater sense of what all this is about, a greater sense of the all. Universe, God. Yeah.
Correct.
Exactly.
You know what I'm saying? You can only be who you are in that moment. You can't be anybody else. And if you're not checking your spirituality according to your mind and your heart, how do you know who you are in that moment?
Boom.
What is your spirit?
Boom.
Do you have what it takes to move that mountain? You know what I'm saying? You want to quote scripture, move the mountain.
Move it. Come on. Ooh. Say that's fire right there. Move the mountain. Move the mountain.
Greater works. You know what I'm saying? Do greater works. You know what I'm saying? Don't subject yourself to the minimal of just oh, Sunday service and I'm a Christian. Don't do that.
Nah.
You got to be stronger than that.
Yeah, you got to be stronger and take a lot more. You know what I'm saying? Knowing your lane, since we right there. Talk about that, knowing your lane. Where we at? Where you at?
I'm in it, cuz I thank you, King, for the time that you've allowed me to have. I'm in my lane, since I was a little girl. Yeah. I was always the one in the family that didn't nobody want to do nothing around because I was going to tell. I was going, you know what I'm saying? I was going to do the right thing. You know what I'm saying? I'm never, and so I'm in my lane. I know that I came to this place because of spirituality. That was the foundation that was laid for me from my grandfather to my mother. You know what I'm saying? Spirituality. I've always been a spiritual being. And in being a spiritual being, there are things that I tried to do that just didn't fit with my spirit. But I had to learn that it was a spiritual thing. It wasn't necessarily a socially normal, acceptable thing. It had nothing to do with that. Right. It was the fact that I walked a different walk and my platform was not the same. And I account for who I was as an entity, as a being. Yeah. And once I did that, I have never had a problem just serving. You know what I'm saying? Just doing what it is that I'm capable of doing. I'm created to do my purpose. And my purpose has always been to serve, to enlighten, and to educate. You know what I'm saying? And so therefore, I'm walking in my lane, man. I ask that everybody walk in their lane.
Get to it.
Flow quicker.
Yeah, real talk. You get to where you going a lot smoother. You know what I'm saying? You still might hit a pothole, but it's gonna be a lot smoother travel. You know what I'm saying? Real talk.
I'm not trying to say that I have an innate ability or something that's you know what I'm saying, supreme in reference to anyone else, but I know my gift. Yeah. And being present in my gift means that I have to give you what I got in that moment. And so my gift is serving, my gift is counseling. You know what I'm saying? If I was in a church setting, they was to say, well, what gifts do you hold or possess the spirit laid upon you? I would tell them kindly that the spirit has laid the gift of administration on me because I do have the ability to sit and coordinate whatever God puts my hands to. I don't know why I'm like that, but hey, I'll take it. So I stay in my lane. You know what I'm saying?
That's what's up.
Focus and putting operations together. I mean, everybody don't get their gift, so I got to work with mine. You know? And when we call, and I just say that as an example, I can't talk about nobody else's lane, but you got to know your lane.
Yeah, you got to find it.
And once you find your lane, you got to be willing to commit to your lane.
True.
And in your lane, you're going to go through some bumps. You're going to have some bruises. You're going to need to be accountable to somebody, and you're going to need somebody.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And finding that lane. But you got to be authentic and real with yourself too, because the lane that you travel ain't going to be easy. My lane ain't easy. Nobody just jump in my lane right now and try and ride this jump.
Yeah, come on. You might think you in a bed in one of them Flair Flintstone cars on that highway. You got to tie your feet up. You know what I'm talking about? Because you never know. But so speaking on the branding, anointed incentives. You got the healing salts. You know what I'm saying? You got the herbal supplements. You got tell them what you got going on. Go on, brand that thing. Go on, brand it out.
So, Anointed Incentives is my baby. It is African product, Black manufactured. It is Black owned. It is Black operated. Yeah. It's all us. And minerals themselves come from Africa. So everything is from Africa. I even use oils from Africa. And so basically we're entering the bath product market.
That's dope.
And we make bath bombs. We make shower steamers. Not a lot of people are familiar with shower steamers, but shower steamers are the biggest thing going right now in reference to aromatherapy. So people that are having sinus issues, allergy season getting ready to come up, y'all.
Yeah.
But the aromatherapy from the shower steamers helps to make sure that you can get your sinuses cleared out, immune agents and all of that. And then, of course, there's the self-care with the salts. So we do the bath salts. We do have herbal supplements. But Anointed Incentives is going right now. It's booming. We've been in business for what's this? This is March. So we've been in business for 6 months.
Out of that business. That's what's up. That's what's up. That's what's
Yeah.
up. When I went on the website, that was the first thing that caught my eye. I was like, man, shower steam. What's that about? Because I need to clear my signs, so I'm gonna have to give me some steam. Give me some shower steam.
I'm gonna tell the people about the shower steam.
Already, yeah, we gonna work it up. You know what I'm saying? And put it out there.
Yeah, and so the branding was something that I wanted to do. The Anointed Incentives is a brand of Anointed Kat. Branding is important depending on how you're trying to develop your business. You have to get something, you don't necessarily have to, but if you want to be out in the product industry, you're going to need a product that's going to be reliable and something that, you know, is going to be long-term. And so we've always used Epsom salt. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So now you use some Anointed Incentives when you soak in something.
Already.
Aromatherapy. And so, yeah, branding is important because when you brand yourself, you can actually have not just more. It's good to have more than one source of income. Let me just say that off the bat.
True. Yeah.
But it's good to have a brand that speaks to your character. And so the brand is authentic. You know, it's straight from Africa. There's nothing, you know what I'm saying? No additives. It's African. So that's me. I like to be authentic. You want to be true to your brand. And I'm true to it because it's Black, it's cultural related, you know, it's Black owned, Black manufactured. The ladies that are working with me are from Senegal. So,
that's fine.
We do it. And so it's 6 months in. We're doing good so far. We would love to take any type of like home events, the little pottery things that they be doing when they come to the house and stuff like that. We do any of that. We are now in a store in Temple, Calabasie African Market.
Say it again.
The Calabasie African Market off of 31st Street.
Okay.
It's a Senegal. I said I connected with the Senegal community. So it's a Senegal store. They have a lot of, I mean, y'all just need to go check them out, period. Because all the nutrients and herbal supplements, talking about holism, herbal supplements that you would need, you can find it there. I mean, a lot of stuff that y'all think is not, you know, we think you got to go run and get a prescription for, or, I mean, because you don't need prescriptions in Africa, first and foremost.
Come on.
But
ooh, that's deep.
A lot of the herbs and stuff that they use, you don't even need a prescription because it's plant-based.
Yeah.
It's herbs. Ain't no chemicals in it. You go get herbs.
Come on.
And a lot of the stuff that she has there is herbal-based. I sell moringa, so that's an immune-boosting supplement that's good. But she also has Visa, which is an African immune-boosting agent that they use all year long. And you notice they don't have colds and stuff like that.
Right,
they use herbs and teas and stuff like that. I mean, just go there, period. And just check
out. Go check that out. Yeah, I'm gonna check that out. Yeah, that's what's up.
Teas and anything. You know what I'm saying? All you need.
Yeah, that's what's up. Go ahead.
It's just a good place to go and get educated in reference to herbs and how herbs can help you on a holistic journey. You know, you want to be authentic, you want to serve or have your body up to par with natural organic supplements. There's an African natural supplement. You know what I'm saying? Straight from the motherland. That ain't no joke. It ain't by nothing else but the motherland. So
that's dope. That's dope. Hey, you know, I always look at things, you know, like how things happen and timelines and connections, and that's fire that you went over there and now you connected right here in your spot with somebody from there, a group of people from there that's working with you. That's just dope. Time and everything, man, how it be laid.
That's what I'm talking about, man. Being authentic, man.
Yeah.
You know, that's all I ever tried to do or be. And because of that, I put wheels in motion. I've made plans to be authentic. So I couldn't see it happening any other way. When I got back, and I'll be honest, I got back and my first thing was, let's push it. It's an African product. People go gig off the African product, you know? So that was my first thought process. But when I did that, I started learning more about the culture, the African culture here within this community. Keep in mind, I hadn't been back in the community for that long.
Right.
Then I've been out in South Carolina and now I'm here. And so I hadn't been back here that long. So I didn't know what the dynamics of the community was, especially the African population.
Right.
So I started learning about that when I got back. And man, it was just like I could see the transition of that humanity and how they were having problems coping with America too in their eyes. Because I witnessed them in their society.
Yeah.
It makes sense in their culture at home. And then to see them here, you know what I'm saying? And that love, that genuineness, that authenticity that comes with just knowing the struggle.
Yeah.
It was real time. It was real time. And so when they saw that I had the salts and I saw that they were of a community, the Senegalese community, you know, it was just kind of like, hey, how do we make this work? What do we do to help each other? And that's what we need more of. We need that across the board as a community. And it's possible. It's not impossible. Like you were saying earlier, you know what I'm saying? It's possible. The question is, do you want to be accountable and consistent in it?
Right.
That's the question. Because that's all capacity building really takes, is being compassionate and consistent in it. You've got to do it. If you want community, if you want better, if you want to thrive, my experience has taught me that you have to be consistent and you have to be committed. You have to have that accountability to it. And if you don't want those two things, then you really and truly don't want community. You just want your own comfort level.
Yeah.
To say that and stay out the way for those of us that's striving for something else, you know?
No, that's right. Bam. I know that's right. We had what, about an hour and 10 minutes.
No.
But we could keep rolling, you know what I'm saying? But I know you got things to do too. But this was dope, you know what I'm saying? Most definitely gonna have you back on in the future, you know what I'm saying? And we're gonna keep contact and do some other things, you know what I'm saying, pertaining to what you got going on with the incentives and just everything, just the story and, you know, what you working on, what you working with, you know what I'm saying, mental health wise, behavioral health wise, you know what I'm saying? But want to give you the total floor, you know what I'm saying, get out whatever you need, get the people your websites or how they can get hold to you, give your last words or whatever. I hate to say last words, but you know what I'm saying, get the people your outro and I just appreciate you accepting the invite.
I thank you for the opportunity, King. I thank you for the opportunity. Anytime I can sit down and talk with my people. So I'm grateful for that. Once again, I am Anointed Kat by brand and label. And my focus has been and will continue to be on my people and the culture and how to uplift it. Therefore, I offer services and counseling and consulting for business as well as individual and community capacity building. I serve my community with my heart and my mind, and I make sure that my community can focus on their own process or their own mind in the process. My product line or Anointed Kat, you can find me on www.anointedkat.com. Anointed is spelled with one N.com. So Anointed Kat with a K. You need services, look us up online and book a session. We would love to talk to you about counseling, planning, and focus. Our bath salts and our bath bombs and shower steamers, especially right now. And with immune systems being triggered, you need some immune boosting agents and get some of that Visop. That's Anointed Incentives. You can shop with us also on anointedkat.com/shop, and that's Anointed Incentives. But if you hit that website, www.anointedkat.com, you'll see all of our attributes and services and products right there available for a click. So come check us out, give us a look, give us a holler. Keep in mind that your health only is important if you think it's important. Focus on you and what you can do in the moment, because tomorrow's not promised to us and yesterday is gone. Stay strong, my people. Love each other, but most importantly, love the skin you in.
Come on now. Already. That's what's up. Be present. Get folks, once again, I thank you. We thank all the people out there listening. Talk about it too, the show Convo with a Queen, but once again, Convo with a King, but today was another Convo with a Queen, you know what I'm saying? And we'll be getting back with y'all next Tuesday. This here will be up on YouTube pretty soon within the week. And Convo, 100 love to you. I'm going to holler back at you.
Appreciate you spotting me.
Keep doing your thing, baby.
Already.
100 love. Everybody have a good week out there. Talk about it too. The show Convo with a King. I am your country cousin, Alexander King, and we appreciate y'all. We out.